You are Locked On Dodgers Postcast, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome to the Locked On Dodgers Postcast. We come on after every Dodger game or almost every Dodger game and break it down for you. You can find us on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. And you can listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. Don't worry. Jeff and Vince still there Monday through Friday doing the Locked On Dodgers podcast as usual. Early start and completion to this finale of a 6-game road trip. I would consider this to be a smelling the barn road trip home loss for the Dodgers. 3-2 to the Twins, leaving the 6 games with a 500 record on the road. So that's not bad ultimately. By the way, I'm Pete Fox, covering sports in LA for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio dating back to 2007. As I've said many, many times, I feel like this Dodger team is great in one-run games. And as Joe and Oral and many other people have said, if you're the opponent and you're only up 1 late in a game, you have to be a little worried. And today it seemed like the Dodgers might once again come from behind and get it done late, but they came up short. Pinch hitting for Outman in the 9th. That was Chris Taylor striking out. Yeah, we had a comment already. Fire Chris Taylor. I don't know what to do with him. He's bad. What's his average now? Like 30, 20? Can it go all the way back? I'm not great at math. Can it go all the way back to 0? I don't think it can, but his batting average now 37. So he's struggling. There is no two ways about it. I got to give Dave Roberts credit for letting him go out there, but I would have rather had James Outman out there. Had a hit today. Did strike out a couple of one time and check swing. Didn't look great doing it, but he's starting to find his way a little bit. Average up to 186. So I know it's that lefty righty thing. I am so not a fan of that. That's the new school. I'm sorry, the old school in me, or is that new school? Old school is lefty righty. Yeah, I'm new school when it comes to that. Like, it doesn't matter, right? It helps maybe a little bit, but the differential is so minuscule. It's not worth it. Oh, this is a good one. I like this. What is this? One Dragon KT3. Beautiful. Trade him and get a gift certificate. Ouch. Come on, man. It's been around for 9 years. He's a Dodger veteran. How dare you? That's brutal. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like these guys that are struggling early in the season will find their way. Gavin Lux starting to his average up to 175. He was 0 for today. Bottom of the lineup again, not great for the Dodgers. Austin Barnes 0 for 3. Miguel Rojas 0 for 2. James Outman the 1 hit. Kike had a hit as well. His average at 192. That was a blistered line drive into left field, which looked good. So I feel like he's starting to square it up better. Obviously, Kike Hernandez is kind of more about his defense and his utility aspect than he is as an offensive player. But, it's good for him to make contact and take care of business, get on base, which he did today, played left field. A bit of a different lineup for the Dodgers. Mookie Betts started at second, then went over to short. Ohtani in the DH role at second, batting second as usual. Freddie Freeman, who was struggling yesterday, K'd 3 times. In spite of having a massive batting average. Did you hear that stat about Freddie Freeman at target? His batting average well over 500. It came down a little bit yesterday with the 3 Ks. Today, 1 for 3 and just no Ks, actually. 1 walk and a batting average when it was all said and done of 333. His on-base percentage, 448, and his slugging, 444. Teoscar continues to tear it up. He had the average over 300 for a minute, but finished 2 for 4 with an RBI, batting 298. Max Muncy playing third base, looking good on defense, which is good. Also, the home run, which tied the game at 2, that ball just kept carrying. That was really nice to see it. Interesting. They talked a lot about Max Muncy's new approach at the plate, being more selective which we like to see because he's obviously a guy that can hit the long ball, and the Dodgers really focus on that for him. That's really all they care about. But the fact that he's trying to make more contact, get on base a little bit more, not swing at bad pitches is a positive step in the right direction just for a higher on-base percentage. Right now, his on-base is 333 and his slugging is 423. So he's taking care of business. As I said, Kike and James Outman with a hit apiece. Chris Taylor striking out in his pinch hit role in the ninth. Miguel Rojas over playing shortstop early in the game. Gavin Lux pinch hitting. Will Smith pinch hitting. Nothing doing there. Actually, Will Smith did get on, which was a little bit of a rally in the ninth, giving the Dodgers hope because Mookie was coming up next. But he did not take care of the business the way he needs to. Pops up, game over. So I feel like they battled. The bullpen looked good. There's not much to feel too bad about in this game, right? The getaway games are really, really tough. Off day tomorrow. Can't wait to get on the plane. An early start, 10 o'clock here for us. So that means they were starting at noon there in Minneapolis. Honestly, if you get right down to the biggest problem of this game for me, was Bobby Miller. He wasn't terrible, but he definitely was not mowing people down the way he was a couple of starts ago. I didn't see that start because I was covering Clippers, but I went back and looked at some of the highlights and, read the box score. He was very, very dominant, but last time out in Chicago in front of his friends and family, because he's from Kenosha, Wisconsin, a few hours up the road, he got shelled after striking out the side in the first. I mean, that's gotta be a kick right in the you-know-what, going from striking out the side in the first inning, feeling like you've got all your stuff and you're dealing, to being pulled out of the game in the second inning. Today he made it through 4, but he gave up 2 runs on 5 hits, walking 3, had 4 strikeouts, and a home run to the leadoff hitter. And I think that's the biggest problem. When you give a leadoff home run to your opposition, that's not the way you want to start. And I thought his fastball was kind of all over the place, riding up. He just didn't have great command. The breaking ball was okay. It wasn't great. So I feel like the fact that he made it through 4 was really a blessing, but just not the dominant stuff from Bobby Miller that we've seen, in spite of, pushing it up towards 100. I saw quite a few at 98, 99. So definitely velocity is still there, but the movement just wasn't in the right place for him. He didn't seem to have that sort of dominating closing pitch that we've seen from him in the past. So he gave up 2 runs. Vesia came in and gave up another home run to that same guy who homered off of Bobby Miller, the leadoff hitter, Julien. So he was basically the single-handed MVP for the Twins in this one, hitting 2 home runs, finishing with 3 hits and 2 RBIs, winning the game essentially for the Twins. 3-2, so they salvage 1 in this series. Dodgers come home with a 500 road trip. We'll hit the first break and come back and get into a little bit more about the offense and where I think some of the holes were as far as what can always be better, right? I do like to see that they're running as well. That's also positive for me. A little bit of old school baseball there, but still a few holes. We'll talk about those next. And really, the most important aspect of the game, the Twins uniform. We'll get into that next. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Dodgers Postcast. You can find us on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. All right, today's show brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, of course, is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. If you just want to have a little bit more fun watching the games, it's you against the numbers. I am a huge golf fan as well. Masters, of course, starting tomorrow in Augusta, Georgia. So I had to get some action in on that. I picked a whole bunch of players and I put them in a multiplayer pick. So I think I had 3 or 4. I did Scotty Scheffler, #1 player in the world with birdies. I figure he's playing out of his head. 4 birdies for him. Shouldn't be too tough a hill to climb. And then Rory McIlroy, I think I had him under 72 or 73. So that's how you bet or select Prize Picks for the Masters. You can pick birdies, You can pick score. You can pick a variety of different things, all available for you there. There's also the demon picks and the goblin picks, the newest and most exciting way to play at Prize Picks. Squares marked with red demons have higher odds, and squares marked with green goblins are a little bit easier when it comes to the odds and different payouts. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Quick deposits and easy withdrawals make the whole process very hassle-free. My initial deposit was super painless and hassle-free. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code LockedOnMLB for your first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, picks less, pick less. It's that easy. All right. Dodgers fall in the finale against the Twins 3-2. Once again, not great with runners in scoring position. 1 for 7. This is one of those holes that I maybe put a little too much emphasis on. I was talking with Jeff from Locked On Dodgers over the weekend about this, and he says, look, this is a byproduct of having a team that puts a lot of guys on base, and that's a true statement for sure. So I feel like I'm not necessarily as upset as I could be, but the Dodgers had plenty of opportunities in this one. Max Muncy 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. Miguel Rojas, Barnes 0 for 1. Teoscar did have a hit, but was also 0 for 1 in another opportunity, and Freddie Freeman 0 for 1. So the Dodgers put the guys on base, moved them around, and just could not capitalize. And I think that kind of goes to the, hey, we're getting out of here. It's an early start. We want to get home. And not that it's an excuse, but it's just a fact. It's a long season. I don't know if you want to call this their first road trip or their second road trip because they had to go to Korea, but it's their first American road trip, their first normal road trip. And, they got roughed up in Chicago. It was cold. Today was a little bit better, not quite as cold as it was the last couple of days. They were playing in the 40s. I'm sure that's another thing that makes them just really less enthusiastic about wanting to extend this game and continue and play longer. Another quick game, 2 hours and 31 minutes. So it didn't feel like there was a ton of urge and desire to win this game today. It was like, whatever, let's just get out of here and get home, right? Today, much warmer, right? 70 degrees. It was 40 a couple of days ago. I think yesterday also pretty chilly in the 50s to the 40s in that neighborhood. But today it warmed up rather nicely. So that, went to their benefit as well. But I think once they get to that point where they're putting balls in play, squaring them up, and they had a runner on base, and it just, this didn't happen. That's part of baseball. You can't win them all, right? That's just the way it goes. But Teoscar Hernandez continues to impress, just lining balls and squaring them up, playing great baseball on defense, batting average at, again, 298 with 2 hits today and an RBI. He has an on-base percentage of 333 and a slugging percentage of 423. That was a double to right in the first that got the Dodgers on the board early. Betts scoring Ohtani to third. Then in the bottom, that home run to Julien off of Bobby Miller tied the game at 1. Then Buxton with an RBI in the third to give them a 2-1 lead. Still probably feeling good about himself after that diving catch a couple of nights ago in game 1. That was just a phenomenal 5-star web gem, right? When you watched it in regular motion, you were like, holy cow. And a lot of times you see it in slow-mo and it's not quite as impressive. That one in slow-mo was even more impressive. The layout diving catch that he made. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It was unbelievable. So I forgot to give him kudos after that game. And I missed last night's because I was doing Clippers. So tonight, kudos to Buxton on the RBI single today and the diving catch in game 1 of this series. Max Muncy, the home run to tie it in the 4th, a 400-foot to right center field that just kind of kept carrying. He looked at it like, I don't know. He was thinking maybe it was just a routine fly ball. But then before we knew it, it was, and that field that fence out there is a good 20 feet high. and it landed a couple rows back. So a solid home run from Max Muncy. Then Julien homered again to win the game for the Twins in the fifth. A 376-foot shot, which was a good game for that guy, right? The guy who comes from Canada to Auburn, Alabama. How about that story, right? Comes from Canada, does not speak a word of English. They said his only English word was yes. And he was at Auburn baseball practice, and they were yelling and screaming and asking him questions, and he didn't know anything except yes. So they kept asking him questions, and this is probably too good to be true, but they said, what position do you play? And he said, yes. So he became their utility man, and now he's in the major league. So a really nice day for him. 3 for 4, 2 home runs, 2 RBI, but his batting average still 188, struggling. Carlos Carrea had a couple of hits as well, getting his average up to 324. In the box score, Dodgers still out hit them 9-6, but fall 3-2. Vesia suffering the loss because he gave up that home run, going 2/3 of an inning, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 1 K for Vesia. You can't really complain too much about the bullpen other than that first at bat, that first hitter to Vesia, because the rest of the bullpen, very, very solid. Michael Grobe, 2 1/3, 4 Ks, 1 walk, and the rest zeros. Then Joe Kelly came in for the 8th inning and threw up a bunch of zeros and 1 K. So they really, really took care of business doing their job. I don't have any qualms with what was going on there. I feel like just the Dodgers could not really get a rally going. I mean, do you want to put it on the bottom of the lineup? I guess Craig does. I don't know that it's necessarily their fault. I mean, you could say Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman all did their job with a hit apiece. Teoscar with 2 hits, batting cleanup. Max Muncy, the home run. Kike a hit. James had a hit. And then Taylor, Rojas, Lux, Smith. Smith had a hit in the pinch hit role in the 9th inning. And then Trammell. Why isn't it Trammell? It's spelled just like Trammell, Alan Trammell, but they say Trammell. Annoying. Nothing going on there. Barnes, 0 for 3, still batting .333. He did get on base with a walk. So was it 1 walk or 2? Yeah, 1 walk, 2 Ks for Austin Barnes. Kind of coming back to earth. I don't know that. No, Craig, just 2 strikeouts for Barnes, not 3. Why are you such a hater of Austin Barnes? Riverside's own. Dodgers struck out 11 times on the day, and Austin Barnes only had 2 of them. So stop giving him an extra K. But Bobby Miller, I didn't think necessarily had his good stuff. The ball was not cutting and breaking. And by the way, I learned a new thing today. Never heard this before, but this guy, Jax, who got the hold, I think it was Griffin Jax. Did I write it down? Yeah, Jax. They were saying that the pitch he was throwing was a sweeper. Covered baseball for a long time, and I have never heard that. Like, what the hell is a sweeper? So, of course, I went to the old Googler and looked it up, and it's basically a fancy modern-day version of the slider. They say the slider is a little bit deeper, and the sweeper kind of comes more across the plate and doesn't drop off the table quite as much. It's more of a slurve. Maybe not. I guess it's like a flat slider. The sweeper. I guess Ohtani uses it fairly regularly, which we won't get to see until next year. Vesia again gave up the home run. BC thinks he's not finding it anytime soon. I don't know, BC. They seem to like him a lot. He's like the first guy out of the bullpen most of the time. Although it does seem like his fastball is not in the zone early in counts. It does ride up quite a bit. And that's not a good sign. So I just didn't like the pitch he threw to Julien first pitch. You know, you don't throw that pitch. I believe it was a fastball just right over the heart of the plate, but I'm just not a fan of throwing that kind of pitch to start off an at bat. in a tie ball game, right? It seems like it would be more sensible and just more defensive, if you will, to throw something that's got movement and cut. So the first pitch was actually a ball, a slider, and then he threw a four-seamer right down the heart of the plate, and Julien did not miss it. So, 92 miles an hour. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Vesia, but I feel like the Dodgers like him, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon, so get used to it. As I said, Joe Kelly did a great job. I don't think they're going to move him up into the fifth or sixth inning. They're going to keep running these other guys out there and hold on to Joe for later in the game. So it feels like what they're, when they get something locked in, they're going to stick with it. This is what we do. This is the story that we've written for this game. And they don't necessarily go away from it. After the Max Muncy home run, Kike Hernandez had a really, really nice at bat on that line drive. Just to break it down a little bit for you, he was down in the hole 0-2, and then he worked the count back to full, and then the line drive base hit down the line to left field. So it wasn't like, he didn't work his butt off to get that base hit, or he just kind of first pitch swinging up there. I always like to see those at bats when they get into a hole 0-2 and then work it back to a favorable count for the batter, and then it turns into a base hit. So kudos to Kike there on that base hit. All right, Dodgers fall in this one, losing the finale at Target to the Twins in Minneapolis, where it was 70 degrees today. Holy cow, the Minnesotans must have been losing their mind. 3-2 the final. Thunderberg gets the win, and Vesia suffers the loss. We'll take our next break and then come back and wrap this one up as the Dodgers have an off day tomorrow and head home to face the Padres at the Ravine starting on Friday. All right, today's show also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience are what bring home the winning trophy. It is also what keeps your ride or die, your four wheels alive and on the ground moving forward. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and even level it up to peak performance, like superchargers. I don't know much about those, but I do know about roof racks. I put one of those on my truck before. I've purchased headlights. I've purchased brakes on eBay Motors and the pads, done the whole thing. You can also get exhaust kits and much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for with eBay's guaranteed fit. Here's the good part. If you order something and it comes to your house and it doesn't fit, you will get your money back. But with their guaranteed fit, you put it in your make and model of your car, and they will say, yes, this is the right part, or no, it's not, and direct you to the right part. So you don't really have to worry about that too frequently. eBay Motors has got you burning rubber, not cash, with all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right, welcome back. Not that we went anywhere, but that's just what we say. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. And you can also listen to us wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. Dodgers jump out early, 1-0. Julien a home run in the second to tie it off of Bobby Miller. And then they grab the lead in the third. Bobby Miller just didn't quite have his stuff today. Wasn't terrible like he was in Chicago in front of his friends and family. But it was not the best. And I think in a situation where the Dodgers were not necessarily swinging the hot bats today, although Ohtani keeps rolling 1 for 3, batting .333 now. It felt like, they battled. They did the best they could in this situation. It was a little surprising that and I guess it's bound to happen, right? The Twins are not going to be cold forever. They were 0 for 29 with runners in scoring position coming into this game. Bottom of the third, Bobby Miller did K the side. So, that was nice to see, right? He finished with, was it 4 Ks on the day? So it wasn't awful. I mean, I feel like the team would probably be happy with his performance, but it wasn't the kind of dominance, deep into counts. He only threw 4 innings, but threw 73 pitches. Unlike that stat from Tyler Glasnow last night, that was an unbelievable performance. I caught part of it as I was watching the Clipper game. Glasnow, 88 pitches with 14 Ks. It was one of those stats where the ratio of pitches to strikeouts was the best in 30 years in baseball. Throwing that few pitches and striking out that many guys hasn't happened in a long, long time. So good for Tyler Glasnow, not so good for Bobby Miller. I don't understand Mr. Classic here. Good game, Dodgers. Laughing my ass off. Did you think they're going to win every one? They're not. Okay. It's just not going to happen. Bobby Miller's still young and inexperienced. I'm with you on that. Still trying to find his way. And, the thing that was brought up during the game today that I thought was a really good point, with guys like Walker Buehler and Emmett Sheehan and Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin, all on the IL, working their way back. These other guys that you were using, Michael Grove as the example, are under sort of a spotlight with pressure on them hanging over their head to perform day in and day out to keep their spot. Because guys like Walker Buehler, they're not going to move him out of the way. He's going to be in there. He will be starting when he's ready to start, which is not too far away. He's had a rehab start that went pretty well, I believe, in Oklahoma City yesterday or the day before. So he'll be back before you know it. So that's going to move somebody out of the starting rotation. I don't think it's Bobby Miller. I feel like they really like Bobby Miller, but there are other guys that are in the starting rotation that haven't been all that dominant, and somebody's got to go. I don't know if it's going to be a middle reliever that's going to be moved down to make room for the starter, but it's going to happen. It's not necessarily, that pressure is not necessarily a bad thing. It kind of pushes them to go out and perform. But yeah, Bobby Miller, obviously not a veteran just yet. He has the velocity, and I think they really like that about him. And he's got that game face, if you will, that determination that they really like, that he is a hard-nosed sort of dude that is a very aggressive pitcher, and they like that. So I feel like he's got a spot around this team for a while. As to whether or not he is a playoff kind of guy, that remains to be seen. But with Tyler Glasnow dealing the way that he is, 3-0, Yamamoto's pitching well. They've got at least 2 to 3 solid starters that they don't really have to worry too much about. Of course, the question hangs out there, what's going to happen when Clayton Kershaw's healthy? And then next year, obviously this is probably the last year for Kershaw, so we won't have to worry about that next year. But Ohtani will be pitching next year. It's just going to be murder on the opponents next year. So I look at this and I say the future is bright, right? Walker Buehler back before we know it, and Tyler Glasnow dealing. Yamamoto's looking good. I think Bobby Miller did okay. He did probably enough to get the win. They pulled him out of the game because of his pitch count and the fact probably righty lefty, that sort of stuff was going on, and they didn't feel like they wanted him in there any longer. But this Dodgers starting staff has been really good. There's not too many, aside from Bobby Miller getting pulled in the second. Paxton's been very good. And who was that other guy? Oh, Gavin Stone also done a pretty decent job, right? He's a youngster that we have high hopes for, and we feel like, yeah, he could turn into a Tony Gonsolin or a Dustin May. I feel like those guys are kind of in the spotlight following Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin as the fourth, maybe the fifth guy. So they'll keep grinding and battling. Bobby Miller could turn into the next Walker Buehler. He's definitely got the stuff. It just has to be a little bit more consistent, which it was not today. Does that mean the Dodgers, if he was a little better, do they win? I don't know. I felt like the Minnesota Twins had something to prove today, and they did that. Dodgers gave it a little bit of a rally there in the ninth, but just came up short. I thought the former Padre Paddock also looked pretty good. Breaking ball was working good for him today, so that was tough for the Dodgers. But all in all, I feel like a good road trip in spite of tough weather in Chicago, cold in Minnesota. A 500 road trip is nothing to cry about. They'll be home today, tonight, a day off tomorrow, and then back at it against the Padres on Friday. That's going to do it for today's Locked On Dodgers postcast. Don't forget the Locked On Dodgers podcast happening as it normally does on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel with Jeff and Vince. You can also listen to both of us here on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. And I will be doing Locked On Clippers tonight after they're home and home with the Phoenix Suns. So be sure to check that out as well. Thank you for joining me here. Thank you for all the comments. Enjoy the rest of your day. We will talk again on Friday for Dodgers and Padres.